please watch the entire video before attempting to do any of this. Hey everyone, it's Matt here, and today we're doing another episode of TG Tutorials, and this one of course will be a little bit more somber because of what we're talking about right now. And if you're like me right now, you're probably nervous about a lot of things. You might be going out shopping once a week, maybe going out to do laundry once a week, maybe not even being able to do both in the same day, maybe living with family, with friends, roommates, you have a spouse, you have a child, and they're going out as well due to one reason or another. Obviously trying to make it essential. Maybe you're an essential worker, maybe you have family who are essential workers, whatever it might be. You might be in a situation where they come home, they touch an item of yours, and then you find out later on that they were asymptomatic and they have what is going around. I don't want to say what's going around, not because our videos are monetized, because you can see right now just by watching our videos they're not, but if for some reason they get deranked by mentioning what is going around, then that means that I can't get the message out to you guys, and I really don't want to have that be at risk. So basically, if for some reason you need to clean off your Nintendo Switch games, obviously this is the video for you, and first things first, we're going to talk about exactly what you need to get this done. So first things first, you should get a cloth mask. Now I know you're technically touching a surface, not necessarily breathing it in, but I want to be very careful, so definitely get a mask. Don't get an N95 mask. I actually have one because a family member gave us about 2 or 3 before we knew that they were actually in short supply. This was actually early to mid-March. Now that I know that they're in short supply, I haven't gotten any of them. Sadly, these are used, so I can't donate them to a hospital, but definitely if you have some around and you haven't used them, donate them to a hospital. Healthcare workers really need them right now, so definitely don't have an N95 mask. You definitely can get the same effect using a cloth mask or a bandana. I was able to get a cloth mask at a 99-cent store near me. For some reason, some people, while even though a lot of supermarkets are out of stock in many different cases for many different things, for some reason some people are not frequenting 99-cent stores, dollar stores, so definitely go check out your local one. You might actually be able to find one of these masks. So the next thing you're going to need are gloves for obvious reasons. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're actually going to be using this Lysol spray right here called the Disinfectant Max Cover, and this video is not sponsored by Lysol. Thankfully, we did have this around the house, and when looking at the back of it, to make sure that you know which ones can and cannot attack this virus, look at the back of it and you can actually see the EPA code right here, and when Googling that, you'll see that both Lysol and the EPA do acknowledge that certain Lysol products, not all of them, can tackle this virus. I'm sure there's other products on the market that are non-Lysol related and sold by Lysol that can also do this as well, but I want to use the strongest thing I have in my house, and it just so happens, thankfully, that it is this. So the next thing you're going to need is either a paper towel or a towel. It really depends on what you're trying to use the paper towel / towel for. Personally, because I'm actually cleaning both the case and the cartridge on a plastic surface, I don't need to use the Bounty paper towel or a general towel to actually shield the surface. But if you're actually cleaning this on a wood surface, either wood grain or whatever might be wood related, wood adjacent, you actually have to be very careful because the Lysol itself will definitely ruin that finish. So you might need a paper towel or a general towel to shield the cartridge and the switch case from the actual wood. I'm actually using the paper towel both to apply the Lysol to the case itself and also a dry paper towel to wipe it down later. Don't use tissues because those are going to be really weak once you spray the Lysol on it. Also, if you're trying to clean the cartridge, definitely get some cotton swabs as well. And now that you know what you need, let me show you exactly how to do it. Now, before we move on to the next part of the video, I want to mention that according to a recent study by the New England Journal, the virus can last on plastic surfaces for up to 72 hours. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because initially you could isolate either the cartridge or the case for up to 3 days, potentially in a plastic bag somewhere in your house or apartment that you don't really frequent. And another reason why I'm mentioning that is because if you don't do that, so if within the first hour of potential infection, you put on the gloves, you put on your mask, you do everything right, when you take a look at the actual case itself, if you're trying to clean the case, if you're like me, you're a little bit nervous that, oh, what if the chemicals from the Lysol actually get inside the case case itself inside the plastic and then end up affecting the paper fold. So when you remove the paper fold, even though you are using your gloves, you could potentially put the virus on the paper fold. So even though you clean the entire plastic, when reapplying, when putting the paper fold back into the plastic, you could end up spreading it yet again. Obviously, you can just isolate the paper fold for 3 days, but still it's worth mentioning and something that you should definitely think about when doing this. So as you can see, I'm actually spraying the Lysol on. I definitely sprayed too much, but I mean, we're just applying this over the plastic case, and really it's okay if it gets into any nook and crannies because we don't want to leave any trace of the virus on this thing. So I would suggest letting this sit for about 10 minutes and then getting a dry paper towel and wiping it down. But do remember though, it is going to smell like this specific brand of Lysol for about a day or so, even faintly. So do remember that as well, and maybe don't put the paper fold in if you don't want it also smelling like the specific brand of Lysol. Now, for those of you that are interested in cleaning the cartridge by itself, this is where the cotton swab comes in. So if you actually cleaned the case before, then you have a used paper towel that you sprayed down with Lysol. If you didn't, now is the time to take a paper towel and spray it down with Lysol and actually dip the cotton swab into the Lysol so you actually get it around the cotton swab. Definitely leave the other side dry, as you might want to dry down the switch cartridge later. Now, if you're like me and you're concerned about getting this onto the switch artwork, then don't actually touch the sticker at all. Gently swab it around the sticker and also on the back as well. But before you do that, be careful with the contacts. I have not seen anything online that says whether or not the chemicals from this Lysol or from any Lysol affect the contacts the same way that rubbing alcohol, that isopropyl alcohol would. Normally, you would use that to clean cartridges of any kind. I haven't really cleaned or needed to clean a Switch cartridge with it, but I have used it for NES and SNES cartridges and N64 cartridges in the past. I've actually shown you how to do that through TG Tutorials episodes throughout these 5 years that I've been doing it. But when it comes to the Switch cartridges and looking at something like this Lysol, I don't feel confident and comfortable putting that on the Lysol, on the cartridge itself, on the contacts itself rather. So definitely I would suggest working around that. If you're a bit concerned because someone took their big fat thumb and put it directly onto the artwork or directly onto the contacts themselves, and that's the part of the cartridge that you're worried about the most, that's why I mentioned before that it might be best that you wait the 3 days initially and that you're doing this just for general peace of mind and to take a second swipe at the virus. So before, when talking about the case, I mentioned how long you should leave that sitting. When it comes to the cartridge itself, I would still say around 10 or 15 minutes. Potentially use the non-used, the dry part of the cotton swab to swab it down, to swipe it down, but really, you can just let that dry. Again, just be very careful with the contacts, be very careful with the artwork, with the sticker on the front, and you should be good to go. I would suggest, though, waiting about a day or so before putting it back into your Switch cartridge if you do want to use it. Alright everybody, stay safe, and now let's jump back to me in front of the shelf. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want me to do videos like this with other types of games in the future, please comment down below. Give me any suggestions. Tell me what you would like to see in the future. Also, please stay safe. I hope all of you are doing well. And please check down in the description box down below because we're actually going to be linking to a few different charities that you could donate to if you want to help people in need, if you can donate to during this time. Thank you all again so much for tuning in, especially during everything that's going on right now. Hopefully this helped you. If it did, please comment down below. If you have any questions, again, also comment down below. I'll answer them as best as I can. Love you all. Take care and tune in next time for hopefully a less somber edition of TG Tutorials. All right, so take care, everybody.